Hello and welcome to part 2. I'm here and I'm going to be continuing my chat about the demonic world, building a relationship with a demon or the lower astral, building a relationship with any level of the underworld as you would mostly know it, demonic beings. So I will be continuing this chat and we'll call this part 2. I don't want this to get as long as part 1 was. For those of you that are new to my channel, welcome and thank you for tuning in. My name is Goliath, that is my author name, and I am very much into spirituality, the real thing. I'm an artist and an author, and I live in Melbourne, Victoria recently, and have relocated to Western Australia. So I am now in Perth. Yes, DMs are open, and I am now considering taking astral chart readings again. So you can book a astral chart assessment with me. And how that works is I will look at your chart. I'll send you a link. You fill it out. You screenshot it. You send it back to me. Time, date, hemisphere, location, all of the things that we need. All the good stuff has to be absolutely correct. And then I will basically go in on a forensic level and look at all of your chart and give you about a 45-minute to an hour evaluation of your astrological DNA, if you will. Some people freak out a lot about this and they say that they don't like or they don't believe in astrology. They don't believe in it. It's very much real. We're all aspects of what is called the Godhead, all splintered down, and we're all fractals of it on different levels of vibration. So, and of course, soul contracts come into this as well. So kind of like, past lives, future lives are all connected in the astrological formation of you. And if you know anything about astrology, then you'll know there's a lot more to astrology than like your sun. My sun sign is in Capricorn. It's a lot more involved than that. So, I will be able to give those for you or create those readings for you. Also, I am interested in now taking up some spiritual counseling. So if you are out there and you want to talk, I will charge for my time and knowledge. As you know, I have to support myself, and I do take this very seriously. So we can set up a phone call. I'm happy to do that via WhatsApp or Signal app if you prefer. And I would advise you to record the conversation that you have with me. When I conduct any level of reading, I always encourage the querent to record that particular reading. So you can go back and keep it and come back and refer to it when you need to in time. So that being said, you've probably watched part 1. And by the way, these are candid chats, very open, honest conversations that I'm having about this topic with you. I'm providing this level of knowledge for free. And in this podcast, we're going to delve deeper into the topic. So viewer discretion is advised. Comments below, absolutely. Please go ahead and leave those comments. And if I can get onto the questions that you've sent me, I will try and answer them very quickly and very directly rather than kind of going around about it. Okay, so I, in my early 20s, was at a level of a crossroad. I explained that to you in part 1. One of the things about building a relationship, by the way, if any level of interaction with any level of deity or any level of spiritual being is very short and quick, that is not what the spiritual world is interested in. Okay, so that being said, if you're listening to this and you're new to the occult world or you're new to spirituality on this level, you need to understand that coming in with an attitude of you're just going to write some kind of list and then you're going to do a little ritual on a full moon, on the right time, and then all of a sudden you think that all of this stuff's going to come to you. You're going to put in your Santa order. Take that off the table right now. That is the most dangerous way and the most stupidest way to ever approach the occult. When we kind of demand supernatural things, I want to remind you in the zeitgeist or in the universes, humans, yes, we are the embodiment of an angel and going into the etheric body as we evolve and become more angelic as we're supposed to, or we can kind of regress or kind of de-evolve. Now, de-evolving or going backwards is not a natural state for a human anyway. You have to understand that the demonic world is all about that. It's prowling like a shark, circling. That's what it is. Okay, so if you're coming in and you want a quick video or you want a quick thing where you're going to get this thing that you want, usually it's love more than anything I've noticed with humans. They want to make some kind of negotiation to the spiritual world, or they'll perform a ritual to some, set deity, set demon, and all of a sudden they think everything's going to come to them very quickly. That is not going to happen. I did mention the word building a relationship. That is what the astral world wants from you. Once you, and I've done a video on this before, once you open the garden gate, the latch is never locked. Okay? When you invite something into your soul, when you invite something into your spiritual domain, you are opening up a door. All right? You don't know what's on the other side. You don't know what's going to happen. The level of risks that are involved are very, very dangerous. The spiritual world is immortal. So I'm going to put this really simply. It has been there forever. Okay, so when you start communicating with the other side, things like time, things like linear thinking, that's not a construct of the spiritual world. They don't care about your energy levels or whether you're tired. They don't care about your money. They don't want your money. Okay, what they want is your life force. And that's why in any level of spiritual ritual, blood makes the spells work. Blood is ultimately what a demon wants, because demons can't, it takes an insane amount of energy for a demon to kind of manifest itself in the physical world on a physical level. You would only see it in a kind of an aspiration or kind of a visitation in your dreams or in the astral world. Demons can't sustain a force here because they've been banished below into the lower astral. That's where they are, in the shadows. So they can only try and possess hosts or connect with people that are willing or a vibrational match to connect with them first. All right. So blood is life. It is a life force. Blood is the spiritual currency. When people I see little, TikTok witches or people playing around with this level of stuff, I hate to break it to you, but your spells will never work. Your energy, your manifestations and your crystals and all this shit, it will not work because it is not a vibrational match to what you're asking for. So for example, you can't connect to a demon unless you are a very low level of consciousness. You cannot connect to a demon unless you're behaving like a demon. Okay, now demon is all about the service of self, the idolizing of the primal aspects of the human nature. Okay, so in the body, we've got all of these meridians, or we've got chakras. The lower chakra in the dick or in the clit, just putting it really bluntly, that is where the demon operates. They're very sexual. It's very carnal. It's very primal. It removes the crown chakra. It removes the heart chakra. It removes the solar plexus. That is where the demon operates, in the lower astral. Now, the stages of a demon's relationship with you ultimately is they want to kill you. And they won't kill you directly by some chain of events. What they will do is bring your energy levels and feed off you in a vampiric way where you start to bond and merge your consciousness with theirs. That's why the first stage of a spiritual connection with a demon is infestation. Okay, so I do apologize. Just give me one sec. Infestation is the first stage of demonic connection. So they'll start putting things in your head. You could start so when you start to operate on a level that's connecting with the demons, you will have kind of very degenerate thoughts, very taboo thoughts that are very disgusting, heinous sexual things like of that nature will start coming more and more into your consciousness. And because the law of polarity, or not the law of polarity so much, the law of resonance, which is the law of attraction, is also operating in the spiritual world, as the spiritual world is a blueprint of the physical world here, is that the more that you start to think about these things, the more that you're a vibrational match to it, the more that you attract it, the more it starts coming to you. Okay, so I need you to please, I'm coming in with this information, but I want you to really, I'd rather you just get this now than me have to explain it later in a future podcast. Okay, so that's the first stage. Oppression is the second stage, but infestation is merging with your mind. So when you communicate with the demon will start playing on sexual fantasies. I will talk about how demons love pornography. They love porn. It's very primal. It's very objective. Like I said, with porn, we are consuming someone visually to stimulate us. But when we do that, it's objectification. So we're treating someone like an object. We're objectifying someone. And that's what a lot of porn is about. 10 guys do a gangbang on a girl. They'll come all over her face and she lays there on the ground on her knees. That level of humiliation, degradation, degeneracy, pack mentality, that level of thinking destroys and removes the heart and the mind. Okay, that's why a lot of hookup culture is just using someone for a toy and discarding them. Demons love that. They love how people are looking for the next best thing. So it's all material based. It doesn't recognize the heart or the mind or intellect. It's disgust. Demons are disgusted by the heart. They don't like that. They don't want that. Okay, so very violent apparitions. And then, of course, you can have physical things which can start occurring around you. So if you are connecting to the lower astral, I've noticed, and I've mentioned this before, a lot of people that work in corporate jobs, a lot of politicians, a lot of lawyers, a lot of lobbyists, a lot of people that work in roles where they manipulate outcomes of things for their own personal gain. It is a level of putrefaction that happens on the soul level. Their soul is rotting. Okay, so you may even sense a level of smell around these people. I have mentioned before that when I used to go into the CBD or the Central Business District of Melbourne, I'd walk around the streets and these alleyways. You will find a very disgusting smell. Even in a lot of these corporate offices, you might get in the elevator and it's this really disgusting smell. That is all the demonic world operating through the human. All right, so next time you're on the train or you're around someone and you get a weird, disgusting smell, like a rotting smell, it is the infestation of the soul. And that's what the demons want to do anyway. I will get onto the building of the making a deal with them, but first I'm explaining this to you. So please bear with me. The second stage is kind of oppression. So it makes you feel anything that is of inequality or anything that makes you feel angry. Demons play on anger. They amplify pain because pain is the cause of anger. So I wrote a book about this actually. It's called The Boy Who Lived Inside a Volcano. This book was talking about the volcano that we carry within ourselves. I will be doing more videos on my book later in this month as well. So please stay tuned with that. But yes, anger is a cover emotion of pain. So anything that's in pain, the demons play on that. They turn that right up in your head. So you start getting kind of really troubling thoughts. You feel very like anxiety, depression, a lot of severe mental illness, blurring of reality. You'll see this with a lot of like wokey people as well. It's very lower astral, very demonic energy. It's not wholesome. That level of oppression is looking at inequality in the world and then being a victim of it rather than working through it. As we know, the world is not fair. It could never be fair. Equality is not actually possible, because we're not all equal. And demons know that, and they play on that in your mind. One of the biggest ones that I've noticed as well with the demonic world and the demons connecting with humans is obsession. So this really implies a level where the person is really thinking about someone all the time, thinking about suicidal ideation, thinking about a person. It could be obsessive behavior, very compulsive behavior, thinking about a person. What are they doing? What are they up to? I wish that I had them. I wish that they were with me. Kind of obsessing over someone, idolizing someone to the point where it's like they start to take over your thoughts. They start to take over your mind. This plays on desire, the desire to possess someone or have someone that you like around you. That is also a way that demons connect with you. So that frequency starts to really infiltrate the mind, and then it becomes almost impossible to separate yourself from it. There is a way to separate yourself from it. Some of you may not like hearing it, but I will get into that at some point in this series on this topic. And then the final stage, of course, is possession. Now, contrary to popular belief, possession is really the full stage of a demon now kind of taking over a person's soul, taking over their free will, removing them, making them kind of like a doll or a puppet, where they're just absolutely fully possessed at this stage. So they've already gone through those 3 stages that I've mentioned, and then they come into a person's body. So they start to take over the autonomy of a human, because the demon can't manifest itself in a physical world without a physical host. So taking over the mind of a human, like we know, to own someone's mind is to own someone's whole life. And so this could also be stages, the final stage, which would be like speaking different languages. It could be an inversion to anything that's wholesome. So one of the things that I'll say is, and I've said it before with a lot of gay men or a lot of wokey culture, when wholesomeness or when functionality or health is around unhealthy people, unhealthy or degenerate people hate wholesomeness. It's the opposite of what they are. Okay, so opposites do not attract, ever. Only magnets can do that, all right? So that's why you might see a revulsion to love. You'll see a revulsion to anything that's pure. You'll see obsessive thoughts in that possession stage where the person is emotionally void and broken down. I also notice this in a lot of jobs, a lot of higher up people at the top of their corporate ladders. They become very detached from their effects that they have as it trickles down in a business sense. They're very disconnected from the outcome of how things affect other people at the bottom, because it's all about them. It's all about their bonuses. It's all about how much money they can get. It's all about how many cars they can have. It's all about them decorating their house, renovating their house. How can they get more investments? How can they use other people to get more power? It's all about power. That's the stages of the demonic connection. Now, any deal with a demon, whether you're aware of it or not, will and ultimately be the goal, or the goal that they want is to possess you. Okay, you might get a few scraps thrown your way. You might see a lot of people suddenly blowing up on Instagram, blowing up in Hollywood, getting really popular all of a sudden. Where did this person come from? Where did this recording artist come from? It's all connected to the demonic world and the forces around it that help these people get those levels of kind of superhuman popularity or superhuman strength as well. Now, don't get me wrong, demons will hold up their end of the bargain. So if you ask for superhuman strength, if you ask for the ability to generate a lot of income in a very short space of time, demons can grant this. Okay, they will follow through. But this is the keyhole here, that the loop that a lot of people don't understand, is that you have to follow through to them forever. So they're not going to deliver to you like some bitch. Everything that you connect with has to be equal or greater than the exchange that you're asking for. So what I'm saying is, when you step before the spiritual world and you ask for something from the demonic world, whether it's to bring back a boyfriend, bring back a girlfriend, repair a relationship, by the way, not uncommon, quite common with humans, or trying to get money, trying to get more stuff. Yeah, they'll shift some stuff around. They'll destroy your enemy. Yeah, they can. They can cause chaos. But don't doubt for a second that the payoff that you give them has to be equal or greater than what you are getting in exchange. Nothing. Now listen, please listen. Nothing is free in the spiritual world. If you're looking for a cheat sheet or a code or a recipe, which is effectively what a spell is, it's a recipe. Everyone has, if I gave like a cake mix, my recipe of how to make a cake, if I gave that recipe to different people, we would have a vanilla cake or whatever cake it is, but it would be different for every person because that's their energy. How they mix that cake is different, right? So there's no two spells that are the same, and there's no two deals that are the same. Everything is based on energy exchange, and the energy exchange is based on the code of the human's astrological power or energy or whatever. When you go back in a little, when you trace the chords back to the wall, it's actually God energy. It's not yours anyway, but I'm just saying most people wouldn't understand that anyway. So that being said, yes, they will take from you. And we see that a lot of Hollywood stars, they all end up destroying themselves. They all end up alone. They all end up in a big fucking mansion and they're completely fucked in the head. All right. A lot of them suicide. We know the 27 club, the 24 club. We know. This isn't even something that's new. If you are in the world and you don't know about how most Hollywood actors end up, then you're kind of your head is in the sand. Okay. You'll often find, and I have often found, that the people that pursue the most in the material world will always end up the loneliest and the saddest, okay? Because you cannot buy virtue. You have to earn it through your wholesome deeds. You can't just skip it to the end. And that's why a lot of people come to the occult, because they want this kind of cheat sheet that's going to get them something quick, but not understanding that these beings are playing a long-term game. And once you invite certain things in, it's very, very difficult to break your energetic attachments from them, because they infest your mind. And when you do that, you see the brain and the nervous system and how it's hardwired is a loop. It's a pattern. So no one does anything once. Everyone does everything at more than once. So the thoughts in our head become a pattern of our behavior. Okay, this is basic psychology. So the more that pattern becomes reinforced, the harder it is to break the pattern, particularly if the pattern is of a demonic nature or a degenerate nature. And the demons know that. That's why they're doing this. All right. So I'm going to answer a question here. Someone asked me, can anyone make... I've got some questions and I will have a look at them as well. Someone asked me, can anyone make a deal with a demon? No, 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 no. Not everyone can. All right, and for multiple reasons. Some people's lineage is just too pure. It's just too connected to the divine for that level of thinking. Anyone who would be thinking about doing a ritual to a demon or a spiritual thing like that, they're usually, I know it sounds mean, but a lot of them are losers. A lot of them are already in extreme poverty. They don't really have, like, they're not doing the work to develop their mind and learn new skill sets and go out in the world and prosper. A lot of them are operating from a very low place. You'll see that in a lot of like the goth communities. A lot of them are all broke, super poor. They never go anywhere. They don't travel internationally much. They don't really know much about the world or the histories of the world. They live in this little kind of community bubble that they create. And a lot of the time, they're not living in mansions. You know, they're not living in that space that they wish they could, but they don't. I know it sounds hard to hear that. I'm just being really honest with you. So they, it's wanting the cheat sheet kind of thing. And that's really what it is. So no, some people's, like, this is going to get a bit hard to hear, but everyone is on different levels of consciousness and everyone is on different levels of power and vibration. So what I would say, a good reference point I'll make here is, there was a show called The Magicians, which was a really good show. And I think it was like season 4. We had season 4 where it was like the fairy queen had to exchange herself to save her people. So she had to sacrifice herself to give up herself so her people could be protected and live on forever. Acts of servitude and selflessness like that, by the way, is always the way. That's an act of God. Okay, the act of sacrifice is God. And so what she did, she understood, and she said that she was equal to 100 of her own kind. So what I'm saying, in exchange, so not everyone was at her level of power. So someone who is, say, worth, I know this sounds hard to hear, but someone who is worth like 100 humans' consciousness would be way more valuable than just some silly little girl or some silly little boy that knows nothing. Okay, so you have to amass and accrue knowledge and power to gain power. And you have to do that by walking through the trials and tribulations of life to acquire knowledge. Okay, so that level of power is always going to be of more of an interest to the demon. If you have nothing to offer the demon that the demon isn't interested in, they're not going to show up for you. It's very similar to wording it like this, just cutting it really simply. It would be like going out in the ocean, slicing your leg or your wrist and letting the blood flow out into the sea. Eventually, you may attract some sharks. Okay, so think of a demon like a shark. This is a very carnal, powerful being, all right? They'll circle around, have a little sniff, and some of them might just go away. But what you're trying to attract, if you want like a great white shark that's like 20 fucking feet long from the deep, you are going to have a very specific energetic type to be able to attract that level of being. So the demon will sense you. So the more power you have, the more energetically higher your vibration, the more the demon would be interested in corrupting that and destroying that, because it wants to consume you. It wants to live through you. I hope that made sense. So no, not everyone can make a deal with the demon. Same with any level of magic or any level of playing around with that level of power. You don't know what's on the other side of their ancestors. You don't know who's backing in their team. That's why when you see websites where it's like, send me money and I'll do a spell on that person to get revenge on them. By the way, a lot of people do make deals with demons to get revenge on people. But you see, you don't know the angels that are on the other side. You don't know what you're coming up against. So just throwing out some energy at someone may not work. They may have a defense system. They may have a protection system. You don't know. All right. So that's a karma thing. And karma loka is not just one life. It works through multiple lives. All right. So I know this sounds hard to hear, but some of these people that are really evil, people that are really mean and psychotic, we may not see them get punished in this life. They may have to, they'll reincarnate again into the lower astral to learn what, it goes on and on. I'm trying to keep this on I'm trying to keep this on topic. So that, in answering to your question, that's what it is. I hope this is all making sense. So yeah, I was at a crossroad. At the end of part 1, I was talking about one of the things you'll find about making a pact with a demon is that you must be at a crossroad. Now, this is also said that John Lennon, who also sold himself to the demonic world, as a lot of celebrities do, they would be at a crossroad. One of these things is called the bridge. You may have heard this term, the bridge or the cross. So you have to come to a crossing of some kind. It could be where two roads meet, you meet in the middle. It could be a road where you're in the bush and you walk up along a path and there's another cross. The crossing or the double crossing is where you will find the demon. That's where the demon will be mostly more interested in manifesting, because the symbology of the cross is a place of power for the demon, because it is a crossing or an inversion, anything that's inverted. One of the things that we know now in the Middle East, there's always been turmoil, there's always been wars, there's always been, bombing and murders. When war, by the way, is also a ritual. When mass amounts of people die at a certain place, that energy or frequency starts to open portholes or portals to the lower astral for them to come through. All right. So there's a lot of temples around in the Middle East, which is why, by the way, it's why they're kind of being destroyed, is also part of the agenda to destroy those temples, because they were places of worship to God or Jesus of Nazareth. So I hope that made sense. So yes, you have to come to a crossroads, and that's usually where you'll find them. And you have to bring something of equal or greater value. So someone asked me, can a demon heal? I will tell you a story, actually. This is one I know, which I've experienced. I had a friend and her son was very, very sick. He was dying of a type of very rare type of cancer. And she made a deal with a demon, and the kid was healed instantly, as the demon was able to rebalance or restore the child, but only temporarily. Okay, it wasn't. Demons can create the illusion of beauty or attraction or boost things like that for us to feel better for a short period of time, but it generally doesn't really work long term. Usually the demon will corrupt the child that's trying to be healed, or they'll try and attach themselves to the child. And children are like magical times like 1,000 anyway. So the demonic world loves innocence, because when it infects itself, it creates an infection into the child. The child grows up all fucked up. That's why we see a lot of wokey culture trying to indoctrinate itself. It always goes for the kids, always. Evil always loves to imprint itself on a fresh young host that doesn't have the world's awareness, it doesn't understand, so it can't fight back, and it can't objectify to it. It can't be objective to its evil. So that would be the thing. And yeah, so she made a deal, and the kid was healed, and she was driving the kid back from the hospital. Suddenly everything had turned around, and she was driving down the road back to home, back to the house. And as she was driving home, there was all of these black clouds of smoke all up in the sky. And she saw all these fire brigade trucks flying past, and quickly realized as she was turning down her street with her kid in the back seat of the car that her house had burned down. So so suffering is exchanged. You must suffer to create a contract. So it will take something from you that you value the most. There is a spell that's called a spell into perpetuity, which is it's a very nasty, very dangerous spell. It can be quite popular, and only a very experienced occultist can perform that level of ritual. But what it does, it attaches itself to the soul, and then it travels with you into the next life. This used to be done a lot in the Middle Eastern days, when people that were to be punished, or it was said that they were just too evil to go to hell and that their soul would be wasted in hell. They get to come back in a new life. So yeah, I know I'm throwing a lot of information out here, but I'm just trying to condense this as much as I can. So usually it's got to be some level of sacrifice that you have to present. So pre-warning, a lot of babies end up in hell because they are sacrificed to demons. And I now know that, yes, there are babies in hell. There are places in the lower astral, in hell, that angels cannot get to. And this really pisses angels off because they're not able to get to those places. They're too low in the endochasm that became hell anyway. And they're guarded by so many levels of demons, and it wouldn't be easy for an angel to get down there anyway. Angels don't tend to go to the lower astral. But yes, in some cases, the reverse of heaven is that in the spiritual world, a child may grow up in hell as a sacrifice to whatever was exchanged. We see that a lot in satanic rituals. Because it can't create life, it can only take life as a mockery of it by destroying life. So, and using that life force as power or a bargaining chip to get something. But it isn't yours to give anyway. So it condemns you to hell anyway when you do that. So I know that sounds hard to hear, just keeping it really light because I can't go too heavy on this podcast on YouTube, but that's what it is. So yeah, it's like also kind of breeding children for some level of voluntary sacrifice. That's also a thing that happens in this world. We know that child sex slavery is at an all-time high in the world. And we are heading into a time where we are becoming so inverted. Everything's becoming damaged and corrupted. And the minds of people are becoming more damaged, more consumeristic, more self-focused than ever before. And this has massive implications on people. So you'll hear the term the Philistinian bargain or the Philistine bargain, which is like a bargain with a demon. The demon, by the way, doesn't own anything anyway, and you don't own anything either. Okay, everything that we own in the material world will collapse into dust anyway. It will become landfill. It's all illusions. Most of the things that demons deal with are all illusions. It's not real. So a lot of the things that they may be offering in exchange it's only really kind of, I've only seen them very shortly lived. It's not sustainable on a level of on a level that can go higher for long periods of time. It might be, you'll see it's like an explosion of energy and then it's kind of gone and the power is out. So yes, that's kind of a bit of information there. What are we at now? 37 minutes. So I will say, yeah, so back to my story. I've given you enough information, I think, there in that regard, just in general about making levels of contact, what the demons truly want. They hate you. They don't want you to succeed. They want to destroy you, or they want you to destroy yourself. A lot of mental hospitals, a lot of mental illness is all around the demonic. 9 times out of 10, when someone starts to operate on that lower level, the demons are all around circling. That's why 2 places that I've found in my life that are always full of, 3 places that are very full of evil and demonic people and the demonic world is corporate buildings, corporate America, corporate jobs, anything that's in a level of detachment from the outer world, like the middle of the hive. That is usually the most demonic. Hospitals are usually full of the lower astral beings because a lot of the sick people that are there, their energetic aura is already really weak. So they're very easy to possess. They're very easy for the demons to attach themselves. And airports, for some reason, I've found a lot of demonic energy is at airports. It's a place where a lot of energy is released, a lot of sadness is released, a lot of like goodbyes, a lot of it's very scrambled energy. It's very chaotic at an airport. So these places are usually places where you will find the closest vibration to the demonic world. But that being said, the demonic world can be accessed from your mind, from your mind's eye. So if you really want to go there and you have an agenda to do with this, then you probably may already be visiting the lower astral. Some people visit it in their dreams when they're sleeping. It can be accessed from any place in the ether of where you are. We know that, hell is the absence of hope or the natural world. So anywhere where it is a mockery of the natural world, where you don't get grass, where you don't get trees, where you don't get anything of the natural world, of effectively of God, that is where you'll find the higher the vibration. Also, when you're communicating with them, if you're performing a ritual, this is a hot tip. Not that I'm saying I'm wanting you to do this, but I'm just giving you this information. By the way, your level of success with my knowledge is not my problem. I'm just sharing this with you, okay? Also, if you're in any level of spiritual activity and the room temperature starts to drop very, very low, that means it's a ghost or a spirit of a human. Okay, if the temperature starts to drop and it gets cold, that's ghost. Okay, that's a soul that's kind of still here in this plane that hasn't crossed over. If the temperature in the room increases and goes higher up, that is the demonic world. Okay, so that's how I know what's in the room, by temperature gauges. And also you can go into someone's house, you can go into someone's place, and you'll find it's hot in here, or it's like there's a strange energy in a lot of workplaces. Then you'll feel that that's what's going on. So I will continue this series moving forward. Yes, I've given you, what else can I give you? I will jump into the questions in part 3, so we'll keep this as part 2. I'll upload this now. I know I've put a lot in here. Please take your time to unpack this. If you have any questions for part 3, leave them in there. And that's where I'll take those questions and answer them in part 3. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. The reason that I'm doing these videos is because when we talk about the demonic world, we are demystifying it. We are destroying its power. Its mystery is gone because I'm exposing it. I'm giving it to you. That's why I'm doing this. All right. I might do a series where I talk about how to communicate with angels. I might talk about how to connect to the higher astral. But for this part, keeping it fair, we'll keep it. This is like lower astral, how to make a deal, et cetera, et cetera. The benefits, or obviously there's no fucking benefits. It's going to fuck you up. But that's what it is. Someone asked me in the question below, in the last video, are pagan gods demons? Yes, they're demons. Of course they are. So is Lilith. All of them are. So I will, if you want to have more questions, put them in there as well. And we'll just leave it here for part 3. So love, blessing, and truth to you. This is why I'm doing this series. This is why I'm sharing this knowledge. And I hope that you found this insightful and helpful. Please come and see me for part 3 and leave those questions below. Nothing's off the table. Everything's on the table here. So please just say what you want. Put in the comments whatever it is that you want. And I'm happy to expand on that. Or if you want me to expand on something further on this topic, now is the time. Okay. All right. Bye.